Hey, Hogan neighbors, what's going on? It's Phil Russert, and it is Monday night. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I hope your week is starting off well, and I hope it goes quick and smooth. We got New York Comic Con this weekend. My birthday is the first day of New York Comic Con on Thursday, so I'm excited. I'll be 51, going on 12 if you ask my wife. And we're going to have a good time at the show. I'm not tabling this year. I got rejected this year, but I am going as a fan all 4 days. And looking forward to it. You're going to see a lot of people I get to talk to at conventions. I talk to online, but I don't get to see very often, so that'll be fun. Anyway, so tonight we're going to talk about a lot of the problems that we feel are in the industry. Hopefully, come up with some solutions. Talk about other things. This is not to offend anyone, blast anyone, or become a bitch fest. It's just discussing real life factual things that we think are issues to deal with in the comic industry because we love the comic industry and we want to see it thrive and flow, and we want to see readership go up, and we want to all do our best to be a part of it. So anyway, tonight with me is Christopher Elston, who he does independent movies. He's done comics. He's got my favorite independent book that isn't Filbo, Rabbit's Badass Song. And I'm just, he's cool. He's got a good attitude, good head on his shoulders, and he's working hard like everybody else. And without further ado, writer, creator, filmmaker, director, producer, father, husband, Chris Elston.
Hey,
Yo.
hey,
Hey, Alfred. Okay, so what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm all right, man. Just chilling, enjoying this nice fall weather.
Oh, I love the fall, man. I love the
Yes,
fall. It's
sir.
my favorite time of year, going into the holidays and everything. And I sleep better when it's cool out. And yeah,
It's
hell yeah.
Halloween, October Halloween month. My favorite, it's a holiday to me. So,
Absolutely. And real quick, launching on Halloween, bam, Diary of Dread. Look at how big
nice,
that magazine is.
beautiful.
Yeah, baby, I can't wait. Woohoo! And live right now, Tragedy Trade Paperback. Just to show you the size of the book. That's how big the magazine is.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, it's a big book, man. I'm excited. But anyway, enough about me. So, as you heard from the intro, we're coming on. We're going to talk about some of the issues that are going on in the industry. We're going to be very honest about what we think is an issue, but we're not here to call anybody out. Okay? If you think you're the person we're talking about, you're probably not. But even still, we're not looking to call anybody out. We're not trying to hurt anybody's business. We're just looking at the industry as a whole and the things that we think are a problem, right?
Right.
So we're not going to spend a lot of time on each topic because we don't want this to be a 3-hour show, but we're going to talk about it. The first thing I want to talk about is gatekeeping. And for those who don't know what gatekeeping is, it's really the control of information and who gets out there and things of that nature. And it vastly affects little guys like myself and Chris with our comic books. And we're speaking about the comic book industry, just so you know. So gatekeeping is a big issue here, and there's a lot of ways that's happening. I mean, do you want to give some examples of what you think gatekeeping, what gatekeeping is going on?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of them. First of all, there's like the whole if you're on this side of the line, you're on the other side of the line. I'll leave it at that. I won't go into exactly what is
The
on that side
tribalism.
of the line. Yeah, so and then either you pick a side, or if you don't pick a side, you're out. You're kind of outcast,
You're in the
which means
ether out there.
you have no way to get into the industry, and that's one that's especially in the independent level of it. I see a lot of that. Then we can go even higher to like the mainstream. Like there's a lot of gatekeeping in that because there's certain artists and writers that are always going to get work, and they're never going to let any of the new people in unless it's one of those who I know type deal.
Yeah, I mean the circles are tight. It's usually a form of nepotism, but it also extends past family to where it's that friend that you're going to keep hooking up or go to the same 5, 10 people, uh, which is another problem we're going to get to later where the industry doesn't like to take risks. Um, Another big gatekeeping issue for me, and I think this is really big, is two things: influencers and comic news sources like Bleeding Cool, etc. And the reason why I say that is they influencers and these news sources will never promote the little guy that needs the promotion that has quality products like Rabbit's Badass Song, for example, or
Yeah.
Tragedy. But because they're trying to build themselves up, they're gonna they're gonna jump on the backs of big names, big companies, etc. Now, part of that is because look, the fans want to hear about the big stuff. They don't care about us little guys until we become big. But also, it's influencers. To me, you hear the word influencer, aren't you? I mean, you could be promoting both, right? The big guys and build yourself up, and the little guys. There was a big influencer I reached out to recently because they had a big name artist who's a friend of mine on their show promoting his campaign, and I asked if I could do a show, and they told me no because you're not going to get enough views because you're a nobody. And now I don't get upset about that stuff. Like it bothers me, but it doesn't bother me. I don't know if that makes any sense. I just your platform is already doing this well. How much is it going to hurt you to have an indie guy on once in a while to just promote, or even just do a quick read and promote the book, right? I mean, but no, you're an influencer getting monetized on YouTube because you're riding the backs of big name artists and writers and stuff that you're having on. But then it's this vicious cycle because you can't get the big names unless you have the big audience. So it's this vicious cycle that leaves us out. Hey, Carlos. Hey, Sean. So Carlos said, I agree that these websites don't give a shit about indie. It's always the top 4 or 5 mainstream companies. It's true. I mean, they'll talk about anything that's Marvel, DC, even Dark Horse, whatever IDW, but God forbid they talk about what's hot on Kickstarter or something like that.
And what's bad about that, remember like when we had the Hero magazine and Wizard magazines?
Mm-hmm.
Those are pretty much, they're kind of similar how the influencers are now, but I felt like in that era, they had like sections for independent people. And a lot of the popular independent artists we know now, they got their start by getting showcased and spotlight in the Hero and Wizard magazines. But with the influencer, it's more personal because it's one person, right? It's not like this band of people come together trying to create this publication to bring awareness to comic books in general. That's the problem with Bleeding Cool. They're just, I can't call them corporate driven. They're just focused on what's hot right now. They're not looking at the long run, which means I don't feel they're really in it for the comic books.
Hey, James. And that's part of the problem, whether it's influencers, news media outlets, any coverage, right? Promotional coverage. It's not about the strength of the industry or quality products in the industry. It's about elitism, prestige, what's going to get me noticed, right? Like I do my shows and I have big names on, but I also have a ton of indie people on, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't look because I cared about the community. I just want to interview
Right.
everybody, whether you're on or Kevin Eastman's on. We all started somewhere, right? It's all about the industry. And hindsight can be a bitch because one day one of us could be big and everybody all of a sudden is going to flock to us and they're going to love us and they're all going to say they were there from the start when they weren't. But that's besides the point. So I think that's a big problem where we don't have representation in this industry. People keep talking about there's this renaissance of the indie community. It's strong. I don't see it. The industry is structured intentionally for the big two.
Right.
And we're going to get into that: the distribution costs, the production costs, the print runs, how the elitism of and snobbery that Diamond was for so many years, not letting us in. But now that they lost all these big companies, now they have a ton of indies coming in, and now there's like 5 million people vying for your readership in Previews magazine, and that's a problem. How do you stand out among all of this stuff, especially if you're just a guy putting out one book? You don't have a line of books, right? You're putting out your one book because you can't afford a line of books to be distributed. So you're putting out one book in Previews and you're buried in a sea of everybody. So part of the solution, I think, to that, as far as the being in the sea of things, is you can get a front page ad in previews. It costs not a ton, a little bit, but not too bad to try to get ahead. If you got a big name artist or something, you can try to get them to do store signings to launch your book, things like that. These are things that you can do if you can afford it. Not everybody can afford a big name artist, which is
Yeah.
another thing we're going to talk about later, because agents and AI, and I called this on AI a long time ago, and people thought I was stupid, have jacked up art prices. There's strength in indie because Image and Boom are still regarded as indie, but they are mainstream. True indies continue to struggle outside. Yeah, I'm sorry. I agree with you, Carlos. Don't tell me that Image and Boom are indie. That's bullshit.
No, they're not. No.
Image and Boom, they're going for big names, Keanu Reeves, or the same big name, Scott Snyder, whatever. They're recycling work from the same people. I'm not knocking these people. They have proven resumes and everything. That's not what I'm the point of what I'm saying. But they are going with the sure thing. And they're not giving the little guys a chance. So yeah, I agree. They're not indie. That's bullshit.
And not getting too off subject, but I think another problem now is, and this is the harsh reality of everything, is the comic book, not community, but the audience is just not as big as it used to be. So now you got a smaller group comic book audience, and you got a lot more content. And I think when people say we're in the golden age of independent, the Renaissance, you could say yes by accessibility. It's easier for anybody to make an independent comic now. So
Right.
yeah, in that respect, yes. But far as like us, like having a being successful, no. I mean, how many people even doing successful Kickstarters are millionaires? It's
And,
not happening.
and that's the thing. When you go into crowdfunding, right? Going to the next topic, we talk about building followers and getting your fanship and your support and your base and growing. But if you look at the people who are largely successful on Kickstarter, it falls into one of two categories. Either they were big in distribution, either Van Sciver, Billy Tucci, Polito, and they came over to crowdfunding, and that's not knocking them. But Billy's a friend of mine. They're earning what they get, and more power to them. Congratulations, keep doing it. So this isn't a complaint; it's just the truth. So either they were in distribution and came over to crowdfunding, so their fans followed them from distribution, or you're putting out booby books. And don't get me wrong, some of these booby books are high quality art. Like the art is beautiful. They're hiring great artists, but at the end of the day, you're selling softcore pornography. And I think we've become a very sexualized country. Um, I think that entertainment is really wrapped around. I know sex always sold, but I think more now than ever we're hypersexualized. I think it's subliminally put in the news. It's subliminally put in everything that you do and every advertisement. And it's we're animals with baser instincts, and boom, procreation, etc. So we see pretty woman, we see boobs, even if it's animated, and boing, we
Yeah.
get stimulated.
I also think like with the pinup books, it kind of goes back to the variant covers. People, and that's a big thing now, right? Like a lot of collectors, they want for pretty covers, and it's easier to kind of like sell a book with a pretty cover, especially with like the this beautiful women and stuff on it, than just making like a straight up
But
traditional
see,
comic book.
but that's part of the problem too, because pinups are basically just art, just a commission art, right? A cover tells a
Right.
story, right? Covers tell
Mm-hmm.
stories. And these covers that have been out in the last 10 years or so are pinups. So it's really just a commissioned piece of art for you, or a print with a bunch of pages of something that I'm not going to read on the inside.
True, and
And
like
then
even the big,
slabbing.
yeah, even the big guys doing like Marvel and DC. I mean, I know we're going to talk about this later, but they that's how they're making the money now is the variant covers. Now we're talking about jacking up the prices on like the ratios and all that crazy stuff. It's just not what it was 20 years ago.
Well, it's funny because in the 90s, a big problem that helped contribute to the implosion was all the gimmicks, the holofoil covers and the cards and all this stuff. I mean, X-Men Fatal Attractions, they always had the little card,
I remember
holo
those.
cover.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, So eventually that all, and then people thought investing in comics was their retirement plan. Oh, Death of Superman. Yeah, well, they printed millions of those. So it all imploded because of the gimmicks, variant covers and ratios and holographics and this and gatefolds. And I think and people think I'm nuts when I say this, but what saved the industry back then, I think, was that the longtime old readers stuck around when the bubble burst, right? When all the collectors and investors disappeared, the readers said, okay, but I still love comics. I'm still here for the reading. The big two have alienated us so badly to the point where not only are they not writing anything we care about anymore, but they're blaming us and calling us racist and misogynist and all this other stuff if we don't like what they're writing. You're attacking your fan base. They're all leaving in droves, which is one of the reasons why readership is down. And we're ready to, I think the bubble is going to burst very soon again with all these retail variants and ratio variants and gimmick covers and stuff.
Yeah.
And the readers aren't going to be there to save it. So I think that's where the indie scene can come in and fill in the void if we have quality content. But the other side of the indie community is there's also a lot of stuff that's just not professional quality out there.
Yeah, and that goes back to anybody can make. It's now more than ever anybody can make a comic book. They just can't, especially what's even more unsettling is the AI shit. Because if you can't draw, you can't write. You can put some stuff in the computer, it regurgitates out some stuff. And again, like if you're not an avid comic reader, you don't have a trained eye, somebody might come along and oh, this looks great, I'll buy this. So there's that.
But that's also contributing to the lack of readership, right? Because it's become a collectible market. I'm collecting a bunch of pretty prints, and then I'm sorry, but I think grading has hurt the industry. It made it a business on a higher level than it ever was, and it made it a collectibles market, not a reader's market. I really think that. I mean, because you're not opening these books and reading them. You're buying the Hulk 181 to get the 9.8 if you can, or even an 8 point or whatever, get the highest amount of money for it so you can turn around and sell it or say that I have one hanging on my wall. So it's become a collectible market. And I think that helped sustain the industry for a while, that they haven't done anything to get back readers. They're focusing on the collector market. Again, how many of these online retailers and stuff are doing these variant covers and pumping out hundreds a year, and they're making great money and good for them. But what are you really doing for the industry? Because you're not helping readership grow. You're making it a collectible market, like action figures or something,
Yeah, I think the pandemic kind of that was a turning point too, because we saw a lot. I think that's when CGC really got kind of crazy because everybody was sitting at home bored. And they just wanted, they were getting these stimulus checks and have money sitting around. So they started doing, sending stuff off to get graded more. I know this because I had a couple books I got graded during the pandemic, and just looking at the wait times, keep kind of following stuff online and stuff and the different forums, how everybody was doing it too. So I know that was a big factor in why, back kind of jumped up far like just everybody doing it.
I agree. Carlos, by the way, drop your links to whatever you do, all your stuff you're doing. Please drop your links. Carlos is an independent publisher as well, and he does he has quality books that look professional. One of us will need to have a hit in direct market within the next 2 to 3 years for the garage indie publishers to grow and survive outside of the teat of crowdfunding. There has to be the next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Walking Dead, and it will need to come out of the small indie publisher to create a boom. Otherwise, it'll be buried market and ignored market, in my opinion. I have to agree with that. If we don't start making some waves and getting noticed, this isn't sustainable. Look, crowdfunding is not sustainable, and crowdfunding has become a collectible market, online marketing store. That's it. It's a collectible store. That's why Booby Books do well and Swag does well. It's not. I don't think the majority are readers for comic books. They think about it. Why would you? Why would you spend $15 to $20 on a 24-page comic from a guy that you don't even know if he's professional or not, when I can go buy 4 or 5 professional books that I know and trust at the comic store? readers are going to comic stores through distribution. Most of them are not going to Kickstarter. Plus, they don't want to wait 3 to 4 months for issue 2 or 3 or 4. You forget what you're. I mean, that hurt Image being late by 2 or 3 months, and here we are, nobodies. We're not even superstars. You can't maintain that way. You
No, you're
can't.
right. But you know, I'm glad he said Ninja Turtles. That's a good example. You know, it kind of shows how where we're at right now. Because when Eastman and Laird put out Turtles back in the '80s, it was very hard for somebody to come out and make an independent comic book. You know, because you had to
Hmm.
actually, you know, you had to come up with the money. You had to print. You had to print this stuff. I wanted to send it off on a hard drive. You had to actually, you know, no color separation and go,
Right.
all that crazy stuff. So it was a lot more expensive, which means a lot of people weren't doing it. You know, and all you had was what the what wasn't Diamond. What was that? The Overstreet, not Overstreet. It was another catalog. It was a book back then where you could order your comic books out of, and they put. I think that at that time that was like the only thing out there. So they put an ad in that, and people saw it. That was unique. You don't really have that luxury anymore because again, everybody's got a comic book now. You know,
Right.
there's like 50 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle books now. So you know, but I think what he's on the right track, but I think to get to that point, a lot of books got to disappear. You know, we got to get back to actual comic book readers, and I don't know. There, yeah, comics
There you
buyers,
go.
yeah. I don't know how long that's going to take. You know, we're seeing it now. You know, we talked about this, you know, before about how not just movies and stuff in general. We're seeing that decline and stuff because like superhero stuff was trending so good. Everybody trying to get a piece of that. You know, he said Walking Dead. Walking Dead is a good example of why we got so many independent creators now. Everybody's wanting that Walking Dead money. Little do they know there was a whole machine behind Walking Dead. Robert Kirkman already had ties to Hollywood. You know, that's why it was easy for him to get that thing picked up. You know, and
They also
nobody
don't realize Walking Dead issues didn't sell as many
yeah,
as
they
you
didn't give a
think.
shit. Nobody gave a shit about Walking Dead. The book, that was one example how the show brought readers in. When I used to go to the conventions and talk to people, they liked the show and they got curious about the book. You know, usually it's the
Right.
opposite, right? But no,
Right.
I mean that's what happened.
That and Invincible didn't sell anywhere near as well as you would
No,
think. He made his money from making it a show, and that's where he really started making his money. I mean, there's a guy who did Battle Pope, and that went nowhere. You know, he lost a
right,
lot of money before he hit big. Um, but again, how quickly you go from indie to mainstream when you're Robert Kirkman and Image people, and which I want to get into the fan base a little too. And this is going to be a touchy subject, but we have, let's call it as it is. Um, fan fans like proven winners. It's like you could have a writer that wrote really well, and then maybe the last 10 years he hasn't written well at all, but they're still going to flock the second he puts a book out or she puts a book out
right,
just because they liked a story back then, right? It's like a basketball player. You're not getting a star basketball player is not getting paid because of where he is now in his last 2 seasons of his career. He's getting paid for what he was all those years and bringing in fans. So, you know, I stand there at a convention and I show a book that has Marvel DC artists and it's a quality looking book. But because they don't know tragedy, they don't know me, they're like, I'll take a business card. I'll talk to you later. You know? Um, but if I was a name or I had a credit to me and I said, yeah, I wrote for heavy metal or I wrote for Image or whatever, they're more willing to take a shot. There's a trust factor there. And then you look at fans that are so loyal in a sycophantic way to some of these people that they're marketing it that way. They have names for their fan bases, and we're not here to name any names or anything because I'm not trying to shit on anyone, but it's smart marketing, but it's psychological marketing, right? It's,
right.
you're like, if I came up with a name, I don't know, my Lord of the Fans, because Philbo Publishing, whatever, and or whatever, my fellowship. I call them my fellowship, and people want to feel like they belong and fit in something. So when you give them that label, like, yeah, I'm part of the fellowship, man, yeah, cool, and and they're just loyal and buy everything you do. And even if you do something wrong, they are loyal to the bone and will defend the shit out of you, even if you're a total asshole. And it's really weird. And a lot of big creators don't really care about that labeled fan base other than give me your money so I can keep making money. They don't really care about
Right.
their fellowship. They care about you giving them money. But these fellowships think, oh, I can, I want to be friends with this big name, so I'm going to suck up and act like I'm friends or name drop, or I'm going to keep buying their books because maybe they'll like me. And listen, they're just taking your money, guys. They're just taking your money.
But Phil, that just what that is. I always feel there's two types of audience. There's a fan and there's a follower. They're two different things. A fan is like, I like Batman, right? A follower is, I like this guy particularly because who happens to write Batman,
Right.
because he talks a lot and he says things I want to hear and stuff. So I don't give a damn what he makes, what he writes, or her. I just like this person,
Right.
right?
It's like a celebrity worship.
Yeah, and again, I feel like, all right, we're from the same, like generation of comic book readers. When we were younger, we read Image comics and stuff. I like Spawn. You know what I'm saying? I like
The first 25 issues were written really well.
Yeah, I mean, and I did like Tommy Front, but I like the artwork. You know what I'm saying? I just like
Sure.
this art was so cool. And Jim Lee, so that again, that was a fan. I wasn't. I won't follow Jim Lee because of his political views or because there's not. He had dope art, so that just made me like him, right? And because of that, I like the characters and stuff. And I think that's a fan. You know what I'm saying? You appreciate the craft versus I'm just following you because we like to, what I'm saying, we're in the same wavelength. It's almost like a cult almost.
Yeah, exactly. And that leads into, look, I loved what Image did. And, don't get me wrong, Liefeld and Lean, all them. I mean, they've incredible art, cool characters they created. They really did something special and new in the industry. So I'm not taking that away from them. But an after effect that nobody wants to talk about is when Image did that, they scared the hell out of Marvel and DC, and Marvel and DC said, "We are no longer going to create superstars. We are no longer going to create these guys so they can turn on us and become our competition." So they, because of that, they're hiring people that can't come to the States and do shows. One, because the exchange rate, they're cheaper, and two, because they can't become stars. And three, it's hurting some of the quality of the art in books. Some of the writing is hurt because they don't want anybody that's that good that is going to get that following that you were talking about.
That's definitely a big part. Another part, especially we'll just talk about just Marvel and DC particularly. They don't care about these comic books, man. They know that they're making that movie money. They're making the merch money. You know what I'm saying? The comic books is almost like a dumping ground for them just to keep the IPs going.
Right.
That's why, I mean, remember I showed you the link. Like, it's usually the top 10 books for every month. Every month, Spider-Man and Batman is always gonna be in that top 10.
Right.
Somewhere.
Batman, all DC's got going for them right now.
Yeah, that's all they need. I mean, they made millions of dollars just off Batman stuff, so they can afford to make a stupid ass Blue Beetle movie that doesn't do that well, because they know they're gonna make up for it with the next Batman and Joker movie. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way it is. If this James Gunn stuff doesn't work out, let's go back to making solo Batman movies. I mean, why would you?
I know. It's true. And look how many Batman and Spider-Man movies and reboots there have been in short times. But, getting back to the comic side of things, we've talked about the gatekeeping. We've talked about how we don't have a voice in the indie community. There's a magazine called Comics Illustrated done by Mike Wheeler. Now, Mike Wheeler, I know he's a controversial figure for some. I don't have a problem with him. I get along with him. I know that he gets into, verbal scuffles with people. I'm on the outside of that, but Mike Wheeler, with me, has been fine. He's been nice, he's been respectful, and he's been cool. And he did this magazine along with other people, and I forgot the editor's name, but he's really professional, really good guy. And him and his wife Mindy, they did this magazine, and they featured me 4-page article that I wrote with pictures highlighting Filbo Publishing. And I thought this was great because nobody's got a magazine that is looking to do this. It's a digital magazine that comes out monthly that is all about indie. It has one page that talks about mainstream, but the rest is all indie. It's like the Wizard magazine of indie books, and
That's cool.
it's great, and it's professionally done. It looks fantastic. It's well written, and someone had come to Mike and like, well, why don't you get more about Polito and all these other guys? And I'm like, Polito really needs this promotion. Polito doesn't need this. He makes 400 and something $1,000 campaigns. He's Brian Polito. He's got Lady Death, and he had Evil Ernie, and people know who he is. He's a bigger name in the industry. He's one of the huge indie people. And again, this statement is not to say he hasn't earned it or he hasn't worked hard, because for some reason people always take it like I'm saying that. I'm not. I respect what the man's been able to do. I would love to achieve that. But what I'm saying is, I don't think Polito cares about being in that magazine or needs to be in the magazine. He's got his fan base. He knows how to grow his fan base. He's done it successfully. So why is somebody saying we should make it about that? No, man, support the little guy. Nobody wants to support the little guy. But a magazine like that, I think, is a step in the right direction
It is.
to help us. Now, he's got to push that magazine just as hard as we have to push our books, though. But again, here's the solution: community. We have to stop being competitive with each other as indie people and join together to get all our stuff out there. We're not doing it. We're all staying in our little cliques, our little circles, our little corners, and that's it. And we're either doing the bare minimum to help each other so that we have an ally that'll support our campaign, or we are pretending like we're doing something to help, but we're really not, because deep down we don't want to see you succeed, and that's a lot going on in there. I mean, honestly, most people, they have a pledge for pledge mentality in crowdfunding. They back your book just so you'll back theirs. And a lot of them will just do a PDF so you could buy a $25 physical, and you're not helping the community. You're thinking about yourself. I mean, rising tide raises all ships, but we're not doing it. There's a lot of placating. There's a lot of phoniness. There's a lot of fraud, going on in that respect. I think it's not genuine. And it's all about building up your own reputation of, look at me, I'm there for the indie community. Really? How? What are you really doing? I mean, I can't tell you how many people tell me they're rooting for me, and then they'll sit there and say, oh, I just don't have the money to buy your book. I wish I could. And then I see them buying up everything Rob Liefeld puts out, or whatever somebody puts out. Now, they have the right to spend the money on what they want, so I'm not mad. But just be honest. You don't want to spend money on an indie book. Just be honest. Just be honest.
I mean, I think I ain't gonna say a problem, but supporting each other. When we do this too, is like, we share each other's stuff and everything, but we got to realize that who we're really sharing this to. We're just sharing to other creators. That's not really growing anybody's fan base.
And at the most, our small fan bases, we're staying in our little bubble.
Yeah, we need to actually get people who want to read the books, not people who want to create and I back yours, I back mine. That's not even good business. I mean, it's not.
Because
it's
not
cool.
Making money.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. Like you're saying, I like, I love tragedy, and I got some other guys that I like their books. I just buy their books because I like the books. You know what I'm saying? But I'm glad it's helping you guys out too. But I just generally like the books. If I didn't know you, I still would get the book. But outside of that, it can't just be supporting each other. Is not just sharing each other's stuff and buying each other's books. Because I mean, again, we're just in this little circle. We got to figure out how to expand out and get people who don't.
And you said it best when we were talking in private chat, creating a buzz about a book. Talk about a book the same way you talk about the latest Ahsoka episode, and start some chatter about it, right? I mean, that's a way to start. But we're going to get into marketing, the algorithms in a minute, but this is where you look at distribution versus crowdfunding, right? If you're a small guy like me, you have two options. Crowdfunding is a safe bet for the most part, right? You're not going to lose your pants usually, especially if you do it the traditional way of crowdfunding. Like me, I produce all my books and then I go to crowdfunding as opposed to getting the crowdfunding to get the money to produce my books.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do a crowdfunding the way it's supposed to be, it's very low risk, if even. And you can get your book out there. But even a successful crowdfund for a guy like us, maybe 250 backers, 300 is like a big campaign. If you go to distribution and you have a crappy first print run, it could be 800 to 1,500 people. But the problem is you're going to lose money.
Oh yeah.
And you have to sustain those losses probably at least for 6 months, get to an issue 6 before you start seeing an upswing, in my opinion. I mean, just based on my research and what I've done. People will come out and buy a number one because they always want to take a chance in case, hey, you know what, it might be big someday. I got the number one. They drop off on number 2. They drop off on number 3. You start to see them come back a little on number 4 because they're taking you seriously now. All right, this guy's sticking around. Number 5, number 6, like, okay, this is a book that's coming out every month. I'm invested in it. And you can start building a base. But you have production costs that you have to pay for. Print runs are expensive. Distribution, Diamond takes 60%. 60%. Now let's do the math. You know, people are complaining about book prices, and I get it. But I can't sell for less than $4.99 for my book. So say I got a 24-page book, and it's 24 pages of story, not ads. And say I'm paying a good page rate on an indie level, a good page, you know, by the time you pay pencil inker, colorist, letterer, yeah, and that's assuming you don't even pay an editor, which you really should. It could be upwards of $250 to $300 a page. And that's the low end of things. You know, we're not even talking about high. So do that times 24 pages and you have a $7,000 book tab a month because you have to put the book out every month. You have to stay on that schedule of creating the book every month. Yes, you'll be 6 months ahead, right? You'll be working on issue 6 where you're launching 1, but you still have to maintain that monthly schedule or you're going to catch up to yourself very quickly. So that's a $7,000 tab, not including covers every month, okay? And then you got 60% coming off. So say I sell my book for $4.99. 60, round it out to $5. Mm-hmm. 60% is 3 of those $5. I'm left with $2. My print run, if I'm lucky, reaches 1,500 to 2,000. And if you're lucky, you can find a printer in China or Canada that maybe will do 80, 90 cents a book, which I doubt. It's very hard to find that low. It's at least $1.15 or whatever. So let's go with the median average. We'll say $1.05 a book. Now I'm left with 95 cents per book coming to me, but I only sold 800 to 1,500, so I'm not even making $1,500 on the book, and I have a $7,000 plus covers price tag every month to produce the book. So the system is not structured for anybody but the big 2 or at least like the big 4 to really succeed. And part of the problem is distribution went specifically to local comic shops. We don't have spinner racks anymore. We're not in the local Optimo or the deli or the toy store or whatever.
Yeah, newsstands are gone, so.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You mentioned it, Philip. Only way to truly grow is direct market availability and sales growth. Yes, but you got to weather major storms to get that and still take a gamble that you'll get that following, you know? But I don't see any other way to go at this point for us because crowdfunding is just not what it was, and it's not being used how it was intended to be. And he said 300 people in crowdfunding is colossal success. 300 direct sales, that's a colossal flop. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
So you're playing it safe with the crowdfunding, right? But, you know, if you're going to go direct market, especially if you're doing it yourself independently, I mean, let's be real. You would have to make, I did the math once off like almost a $4 book. You would have to like make 10,000 a month just to that maybe you might break even if you make 10,000. I mean, if you're making 30 grand a month, yeah, you're doing pretty good.
To be honest with you, even at 10 grand, and when you have a 7,000 plus cover, so say you get 2 covers, now you're looking at $8,000 price tag, right? That leaves you at $2,000, but that doesn't count your print run.
I know. So you're hoping. The only good thing that can happen out of that is if you sell out, you do a second print, right?
Right. But you're looking at, you probably got to clear 15 grand a month.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm saying so. But then you gotta have like you said, you gotta have like at least 5 or 6 books already done. So if you really do the math, you gotta you invested a large sum of money into this thing before you even put it out.
Now I'm going to be totally candid with everybody. Is way high. My 200 pages 3K. Well, I mean, I haven't seen your books. I'd like to see how
What do
you're
you
only
say? What was the
He's
post?
saying it's only 3K for his 22-page book. Good for you,
What,
because
to produce one? I mean,
yeah, he's saying to get a fully colored, lettered, edit, paying for editors, everything is 3K. I mean, God
hey,
bless him. I need to talk to him.
I mean, if you can do that, hey, that's pretty good. I mean, but even that's still, you know what I'm saying? But 3K, that's still a lot though for a book every month. That still adds up, you know.
Well, yeah, say 3K, and you still got to pay your print run, so you got to make at least 5 or 6 grand.
Yeah, you
See,
know.
now at 3K at 22 pages, I mean, I don't know what he's probably paying $40 for his artist a page, $50. I mean, I guess if you go to Indonesia or somewhere
I mean, the
overseas,
art. I mean,
find
I could say,
somebody.
yeah. I mean, it's possible. I mean, there are some people I've known in the past, like depending on the country and the currency, you can. They may do $50 a page. Then that's pencil and ink. Then lettering, like you can letter in $10. Most letters, you can get like $10 a page. Then another color's like $40 a page. So it's possible you can get around that amount, but
Well, I mean, for me, my page rates aren't as high as 250 to get everything done, but they are close to 2. And this is what I did. And I'm sharing with you my master plan, so to speak, for the last 2 years. I have 5 tragedy books in the bag, and they all crowdfunded and were successful. And between them and conventions, I've made money off of tragedy. So I didn't just pay for production and get that money back. I made a surplus. And I have about 80 covers.
A lot of covers, man.
People look at me and they're like, why the fuck do you have 80 covers? And why are you getting Will Spertasio and all these guys for crowdfunding when the indie scene doesn't like guys like that per se? They don't know them. Because the whole time my plan was to do this, and I'll tell you why. I can now go to distribution, and I don't have to pay for these 5 books or any covers for the next fucking 30 issues. Okay? They're all crowdfunded, paid for. Boom. And the big names are the ratio variants that I use to get the LCS to buy the book. I found a printer that's actually 62 cents a book on a 2,000 print run. Okay? And shipping's not bad. But I still have to find a way to pay for production every month. And even if, talking about, Paul's saying 3,000 for him, for me, it's honestly, I'm getting my books done for 4.5 to 5. Okay? I still got to make that 5 grand every month to pay for the production of the book, and who has 5,000 spare dollars hanging around every month?
Oh.
Who has that?
Not even if you got picked up by Image Comics, you still got to pay for that production yourself. I mean,
yeah.
they'll cover the print, but that's it.
No, but you pay the print back. See, that's the thing, is they cover the print and they take their percentage on top.
Of course,
and you pay all
make
that
money.
back.
Yeah.
So the only advantage to me not publishing myself is I don't have to front the print money.
You get a brand recognition.
Yeah, but I don't know how much that weighs on anything anymore. I mean, how many image books are out there that don't sell well? They have the image imprint on that, but people don't want to give it a try. They don't trust it. They don't know it,
I told you what that is about. They proof of concept for movies. Most of that stuff is like, it's pictures for movies.
Agreed. And Paul was talking about getting the LCS and do store signings. That's another reason why I got these big names, because some of them are willing to go to Midtown Comics and do a store signing to launch my book and things like that. So I've been putting things into play for a while. I've
Smart.
delayed on I've delayed on distribution for personal reasons. Papa is important to me right now because of my dad. So I need to try to fund that and take care of that. So right now the money is focusing on trying to get that done. Um, yeah, brand recognition does help getting into conventions and getting the big booth and stuff. I agree, but at the same time, whether it's Scout or Antarctic Press or even Image, when you go to their booths, you either have 400 titles that you're just sitting on a table that nobody's really pushing your book for you, or Image booths don't have your book out. They only have the Kirkman and the big name books out. So again, I still don't think that goes as far as we little guys think it does, because no one's going to push your book harder than you. No one. And that gets into the marketing side of things, which is the toughest part, right? Reaching outside our little circle of friends, getting out there. You have algorithms fighting against you because Facebook wants you to pay money. It's just horrible. Nobody's here to help us. They're actually not even just not helping us. They're trying to stifle us. Facebook, with their algorithms, they want you to pay for ads and stuff. And then when you pay for the ads, it's bullshit. It goes to nothing. It goes to nowhere. It doesn't equate to backing on your campaign. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. You're pissing money away. And so, how do we break that and get out? That's why I think distribution is the best way to go. That's how you get it. Like Carlos and I said, 300 on Kickstarter. Wow, that's fantastic. It's only 300 people. There's millions of people in this country. It's
There's like
300.
3,000 people like a month.
Yeah, but if you go to distribution, a crappy print run, you could work your way up to 3,000, 5,000 people.
Yeah.
You know, true,
I
Phil.
also
I know
think
this firsthand. I did the bulk of my own promotion, even though I had a name brand distributing my characters. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, Carlos just went through Antarctic Press. They published his book. Carlos was the one busting his ass. Still, he
well, you
paid for
got
his
to.
production to bust his ass.
You gotta get creative too. That's another thing I realized. Like you just gotta think outside the box when it comes to marketing your book. It's not just putting it on Instagram or Facebook and stuff. You gotta actually get out there. You gotta do something, find some kind of angle, and hope and see what happens.
Paul, I said this too, and I don't know if you were here when we were talking earlier. I spoke about this, and the problem is the indie community is not united. Everybody's out for themselves. Even when they pretend they're for the community, they're
It would
not.
backfire probably.
Yeah, there's too many egos, too many cooks in the kitchen, too many chefs that want to be the head lead chef. Sadly, I just think human nature is eat or be eaten. And I'm not saying that everybody has that mentality, because I don't, and I know Chris doesn't, but there are too many people that do. And you know, they have back me and I'll back you mentality. Otherwise, I don't do shit for you, or all right, I'll share him out so he'll share my campaign out. It's always self-serving. It's not really about building the community together. Because I've mentioned that idea to plenty of people and they say, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then they just never bother. I also think the problem with the indie community is a lot of people, they act like they want this to be their business, but it really is just a hobby because they're not putting full effort in. They're flaky, they're not responsible, they don't know the business side. There's a lot of people that don't understand the business of all this. They don't understand it, you
I
know.
agree with that 100%.
I just dealt with somebody who's crowdfunding. They didn't know what the hell they were doing, and it was a clusterfuck. And I'm stuck in the middle because I wanted to help, and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. So I mean, they didn't understand simply how to format the book for print. All the pages were different sizes. There was no, they didn't allow for the bleed. It's like,
Mm.
dude, what are you doing? And then when I try to explain it, they're fighting with me that I don't know what I'm talking about. Really? Because when I sent it to my printer, it was fine. Probably because your printer quietly adjusted it for you. He's not going to do that again. She's not going to do that again. Printers don't have time for that shit, and they get angry, which they should. But
That's
print
a lot of
costs,
work.
yeah, print costs are ridiculous. Formatting a book is you have to pay for. Getting a logo, getting all that. You paying taxes if you're doing this the legit way with an LLC or something. Everybody wants a piece of the pie, and the creator walks away with nothing. So we've talked about a lot of the problems going on, the gatekeeping, no one's helping us out, the marketing that's, how difficult it is to market, get out of your bubble, the fact that the indie community is not helping each other, that it's the industry is shaped to help the big two and to hell with everybody else. A few other quick problems, and then I want to talk a little bit about solutions to wrap up. I said when AI was making, I mean, when the what do you call it? Sorry, not AI. Jesus Christ, I'm drawing a blank. Everybody's talking about the digital stuff, taking over traditional art and like the chains, the blockchains, and all that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Uh, God, somebody help me! What is going on here?
We talking about the where you got to buy like the digital images and stuff.
Yeah, where it's like a one of a kind
Yeah.
digital.
I know. I can't think of the name of it right
Yeah,
now.
why am I not thinking of it?
I'm
Paul
drawing. I
or
know.
Carlos, help me out. NFTs. Thank you,
Yeah.
James.
There you go. Yeah.
When
NFT.
NFTs came out, now I know about art galleries. Why we pay $1 million for a taped banana? It's all market manipulation. It's fake, right? Make something feel like you make something seem like it has worth, and people will just jump on board. All right,
Cool.
prestige and wealth. So that's the two things that make people spend a lot of money: prestige and wealth. Look at me. I've got a John Romita page from whatever, or John Byrne Wolverine. I don't really give a shit about art. I have an expensive page to say, look at me and my groups, and then someday I can flip it and make a ton of money. That's what some of these art people are. Some. And when NFTs came out, I told everybody traditional art values are going to go through the roof, and that's why they're doing this. NFTs were strictly being put out there to falsely inflate original art prices. And now look at them. Now look at them. People think, still to this day, think I'm wrong. Look at them. Original art is through the freaking roof. And NFTs have a lot to do with that. Another thing that contributes to that, and this affects publishers trying to get covers from people or paying for big artist names, they all have reps now, and the reps take their 33% and add it on top of the price of the art. So that artist is charging, I don't know, 500 for the cover. Well, the rep takes his 33% and adds it on top of that. So now you're upwards of almost 1,000 for the. And what's the rep doing that an artist really can't do for himself? And you may say, well, Phil, aren't you a rep? I'm a different kind of rep. I'm an agent. I find my guys work. I'm not riding the coattails of their big names. I'm trying to help them make themselves a big name. I'm getting them work. I'm getting them paid. I'm putting in a lot of legwork. I'm not just booking a flight, getting them at a show, and I'm making a percentage off of their career over the 20, 30 years. I'm trying to help them build a career. So there's a difference between an agent and a rep. I'm an agent. I have a lot of friends that are big names that I probably could rep. I didn't want to do that. I want to help the little guy become the big guy. I want to earn my keep. So those are things contributing to skyrocketing art prices and artist fees, and all that stuff. And it's funny. People sit there and say, "Oh, you get a contract when you blah blah, so you don't get screwed." Those people have no idea what they're talking about, and I'm going to tell you why. A contract is good to lay out the terms of who's responsible for what, but legally, it's bullshit because anything under $10,000 is small claims court. And if your artist is in Brazil, if your artist is in Australia, you're not doing small claims court because you have to go to their area to file. That's the first thing. And that's an American thing, not an international thing. The second thing is, even if you win in small claims court, you do not get the money, you get the judgment. And if they don't pay, they have to pay an interest, but you have to go get the sheriff to go get your money. And if they don't have it, then they confiscate items, which is just shit that you don't want sitting around your house that you now have to try to sell. So a contract at our level in the indie community, anybody who says, oh, I get contracts because they're talking out of their ass to sound like they know what they're talking about, because contracts are useless on this level. They're not useless when you're Marvel and DC, or if you're Rob Liefeld or somebody's IP thefting, Brian Pulido, because there's a lot of money tied into that, right? There's a lot of equity in that. What equity is there in tragedy right now if an artist screwed me out of $4,000 on a book? What is a fucking contract going to do? It does nothing. Nothing.
That's true.
Nothing. So we're not protected, and you have to be careful with the way people are. So I do every 5 pages, you get paid. You send me, roughs. I approve the roughs. You render them. I approve the renders. Then I send you payment for 5 pages. You send me the higher res, and we do that every 5 pages, so everybody's happy. And if an artist disappears, I didn't lose an entire book's worth, or half a book's worth. But so, what are the solutions for us little indie guys? What would you say are some of the solutions as far as, first of all, would you say crowdfunding is the way to go, or distribution, or a mixture of both? Because I think it's a mixture of both.
I think it's a mixture of both. I mean, crowdfunding, especially if you're new to it, that's a good way to kind of test the waters. Just not necessarily to see what the following is, just so you understand how to produce and just market.
Sure.
But the end game should be distribution, because that's the long term goal. That's how you actually create your business and everything. Because like the crowdfunding that comes and goes. Kickstarter may not be here 10 years from now. It may be something else, or no, it may be so saturated that nobody wants to do that anymore. We got to be realistic about it.
It's definitely saturated. It's saturated,
Oh, yeah.
And it's a collector's market now.
Well, I mean, there's that, and we know that bigger names have figured it out, and I think they know something. That's why you're seeing a lot more campaigns getting pushed,
Well, I have
faster.
a theory about that, and this is going to be a theory that's going to piss people off, and I'm not calling anybody out, but some of these bigger guys, they're not doing as well as they used to. They're still doing great numbers, but nothing compared to what they were. So they're trying to make sure no piece of the pie goes to anybody else. So they're just pumping out campaign after campaign after campaign after campaign, because they know if Chris has money for this big name book or to spend on Phil's little shitty tragedy book, they're going with the big name book. So if you're putting out a campaign right after the other one ends, I'm getting all your money and there's nothing left for us guys. And it's kind of like conventions. Conventions bubble's about to burst too. This is why I haven't run my convention in a while. You go to Heroes Con or whatever, they have a freaking great lineup of major artists, 50, 60, 80 big time artists. Great. We're in a tough economy right now. It costs so much to get in because they have to make back the money they spent on all those artist appearances to be there, right? Okay. Well, I go in there as I got a family of 3 or 4. I just spent $200 or more to get into this show, maybe even $400 to get in this show. I've only got $5 to $1,000 in my pocket that I've saved up over the last 6 months because money's been tight. And I'm going to Walt Simonson and Billy Tucci and whoever, Bill Sienkiewicz, and they're all charging me $300-400 this or $800 that or whatever. Well, I'm just tapped out now, and I don't have any money for that little guy Phil.
Yeah.
But I'm losing money at all the conventions now because the money goes to the big names who already have money, and it's not going to the money to the guys that need the money. I can't tell many people look at my campaign and they're like, oh, that looks great, but they don't back. Maybe the product's just not good. I don't know. I tend to think it is, and I know all creators think their stuff is good. It's professional looking. It's been well reviewed by major writers in the industry. So how delusional can I be? But here I am struggling to hit $5,000 right now with 17 days left. So it's a frustration. But so we both agree that distribution is a solution. I think we need to get back to broadening the distribution market, though, not just bookstores and comic stores. We need spinner racks back in delis and candy stores and toy stores.
That's the biggest problem, man. Like, I believe that was the downfall of the comic industry. The crash that happened in the 90s was the big part of it. But I truly believe when they went straight to direct market and eliminated newsstands, that hurt the industry, because now you're only targeting diehard fans. You got to go out your way to get a book. Whereas a lot of people that's how I got into comic books. I ain't going to a comic book store. I went to 7-Eleven and got an X-Men book on the spinner rack.
Yeah.
That's how you keep it going. If we can bring that back, and get, any books on there, yeah, I think you'll see more people get interested in books again. But now, like they've made it such a niche thing now. You know, even Kickstarter, and this the direct market. That's a very specific thing that you gotta go out for. It's not just presented to you. You know, you gotta look for these things. And I think doing that, you eliminate just the regular Joe.
I agree. I mean, there's a guy named Adam who I want to talk to him about having on a show who's doing his own distribution, and he goes into marijuana dispensaries.
Yeah, I know about
He goes
Adam.
in, yeah, beer distributors, this and that. And the problem is, he's a smaller guy. He needs capital. He needs presence, and he's working on it. But he's like us. He's just grinding and trying to build something. So if we could get that, another thing that hurt was Diamond being having the monopoly on distribution for so many decades. I think that hurt not having option. I always think capitalism is at its weakest when we don't have options. Period. And that's nothing profound. That's just common sense.
Mm-hmm.
The whole point of a capitalist market is to have choice,
I
right?
agree.
Competition, healthy competition. And when you have, and that's why there's supposed to be monopoly laws, because then there's no healthy competition. So I think it's a good thing now we have Penguin House and we have Lunar, but it's not enough. We need something a distribution for us indie guys, and we need distribution that's going to target more than just comic stores and maybe your Barnes and Nobles. That's another thing. A lot of bookstores went out, Borders went out and stuff. All you really have is Barnes and Nobles, as far as big chain bookstores.
Yeah, I think I don't know if they had them there, but we had a couple of FYE stores here, and they would sell comic books. No, they were more about the manga and stuff and videos, but they had actual comic book stuff there too. And if we have more stuff like that around, that'd be cool.
Well, like there's a Newberry Comics that's out here on the East Coast, and they're like an FYE sort of, but more comics. But they have a huge manga selection, a little bit of a comic collection in the back. They've got omnibuses, they got stuff. It's a bit of it's a pop culture place, really, not a comic store, but it has comics. Which I don't frown upon that, because you are bringing in other niches, to the store. So that's fine. But I think those are some solutions. As far as the crowdfunding, what do you see as solutions for what's going on with crowdfunding? Because crowdfunding is failing right now. A lot of people. We were talking about this. You look at non-booby books that are quality books, and they're doing like $5 to $7 grand. But you look at booby books, and some of them are subpar, but because they're booby books, they'll do 14, 15, 16 grand. And then of course the ones that are high quality art are doing 40, 60, 80,000 dollars. What do you think are solutions to the crowdfunding issue that's going on right now?
I don't know, man. It could be wait and see type deal, just to see, because if you look right now, again, like it's either the big guys, they're making all the money. It's the certain pinup books, and then it's like it's like the traditional books, which really aren't getting anything. But see, I wonder about these numbers, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. I really question, are these books really making $80,000? You got to think, especially when you see like the person who's putting it up there, and they've only backed one campaign, or they're just brand new, and out of nowhere they come and just get us money. It makes you wonder, like, who's are these numbers really accurate too?
You never know. I mean,
you know what I'm saying? Like, I just, because you know numbers, and we know who's putting their stuff out there. I don't know. It's just, I just wonder what's real. I still think, man, it's just too many books getting put out. I mean, it's just too much. Like,
I agree, but I think a solution, and it would be up to Kickstarter, which they won't do. Kickstarter, again, they promote the big name books that are making a lot of money, and they don't promote the little guys. I think if they did a slight structure change, and they looked at the books that you can see are on the cusp of doing really well. If you're doing 7, 8 to 10 grand on a book, like Tragedy's done 13 grand, right? Why wouldn't Kickstarter look at that book and say, with a little help from us, we can get that up to 20 grand, with just advertising, putting them on the front of blah, blah, blah. It only helps their percentage go up, right? But they won't do that. They won't do that. They bury me in the algorithm because I'm not making 40, 50, 60. But again, if you helped a guy like me, it could easily grow into 20 to $40,000 campaigns in no time. No time at all, especially if I'm doing a lot of campaigns. I mean, do you want the slow dime, the fast nickel? It's up to you. But I think if Kickstarter promoted its material more, at least the mid level. Look, I get it. If someone's doing $1,000 and the book looks like shit, no, Kickstarter's not going to invest that time and money. I understand that. But there are those mid tier books like Rabbit, like Tragedy, like what Lee Giles puts out that you could sit there and say, with a little push in our algorithm, which doesn't cost us really, it doesn't give, it's not taking too much time on our hands. We can help this campaign make another 5, 10 grand and grow.
Right.
It only means money in their pocket. And it means I'm going to have brand loyalty. I'm going to want to go to Kickstarter all the time because they are the ones helping me, you know? So I think that's a solution. I think another solution is Kickstarter needs to start really listening to us, and they're not. They're making changes that are unnecessary that made things more difficult as opposed to what we want changes to be. Um,
I I got one solution. It's now Kickstarter. I'm gonna say it's Facebook. This how Facebook buries the algorithm. I think that hurts a lot. I really believe, and they want you to pay. What kills me is like, okay, I get it. You want me to pay to put my ad out there. Fine. But there need to be some results. Just getting people clicking on it, that's not doing you no good. So you need to see results. And it's bullshit because there's a million people on Facebook. There's a million people out there who like comics and stuff like that. If I buy an ad and I go through the demographics and pinpoint these people, I should get an X amount of people look back in my campaign.
Right.
I'm not just I'm talking about just in general. So it's just like that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? Based on that logic, a lot of people should have very successful Kickstarters. Based off like if we were to go by a true algorithm and really like target the demographics, what I'm saying, it shouldn't be as low as it is for some of these books.
Well, think about it. If you use a link, if you use keywords like crowdfunding, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, they bury you. You know what else they're doing now? Shares. They bury shares because that's a free way to get out to other people too. Like, I have such a generous amount of people that I'm so grateful to that always share out my posts, and you're one of them. Thank you.
No problem,
You guys
man.
share out my stuff all the time. I will post something and there's 15, 16 people sharing it. And they all get 1 or 2 people engaging on it, 1 or 2 likes. And that's because Facebook recognized, oh shit, the share feature is now getting out to other people and it's helping for free. We have to bury those. Shares get buried in the algorithm. You have to make an actual post. Shares do nothing now.
Yeah.
Because they want you to pay.
I also want to know, is it because they don't want you to leave their platform? A lot of times we do the shared, so there's links
part of it
to take you outside of Facebook. So I'm figuring that is that why as well? They just want to keep you on that.
Sure,
on that.
I think they don't want anything that takes you off the platform, and they don't want anything that you can get publicity for free. They want to gatekeep and control how you market.
Twitter's gotten bad too. Twitter used to be good. Twitter used to be the place you could, go to promote stuff like that. They're getting the same way. Like all of them, man. I think the only thing is TikTok, but TikTok, the way that's set up, it's not really in the favor for like, what we're doing. I don't. It's not really
right because it's video entertainment, right? And we have a 2-dimensional platform.
But all like the stuff that you would need is just not, he's right. Too many crowdfunding's not the end all be all, and that should not. If that's somebody's business plan, they're fucking up.
Well, but keep this in mind. Kickstarter was supposed to kickstart your project. They're supposed to get the funds that you can get started, get the ball rolling, and go on your own. Now, it's a direct distribution system. People using it as distribution. I mean, really, think about it. All the big names, it's their distribution platform to their backers directly now without having to go through Diamond and pay them a percentage.
Oh, yeah.
And look, I get it. I totally understand, but it's changed how we use crowdfunding. And I think that has become a problem too.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was going downhill when you could take classes on how to do Kickstarter. So yeah, so I'm like, I gotta pay somebody to teach me how to use a platform while I'm trying to get money. I mean, come on now. I mean,
Yeah. Or you got to pay someone to put up graphics and do a nice special looking page.
yeah. I mean, it
I'm
just
paying you to set up a page so I can make money. I mean, no. I mean, the whole idea of Kickstarter was it was kind of basically a GoFundMe, except I give you a product in exchange once I get
right,
enough money. You
right.
know, um, like look, I got Papa. My dad has stage 4 cancer, and Papa is a tribute to my dad, and he'd love to see this book in print, and I'd love to have it in print for him. But it's a 110-page graphic novel, and if I'm going to pay decent page rates for decent and get good art, that's going to be a $12,000 to $15,000 book. I'm going to try to crowdfund it, but it's going to be my first unsuccessful crowdfund probably because people are not going to back this book. Then I'm not going to get $15,000. I don't see anybody giving me that support and lifting me up like that. I don't. And
Gotta try, man.
what?
You gotta try.
I'm going to, but it's going to break my heart when it fails and I don't get this done for my dad. And you may say don't be doom and gloom, but come on, man. You see you see where Kickstarter is right now. Good books aren't making money. If Papa had two tits on his head, maybe I get 15 grand, but he doesn't. Um, look, I'm a storyteller. At the end of the day, I want to share my stories with people, and hopefully that you find them entertaining, and maybe they touch you in some way. You know, I know you feel the same way. I know that's what you are.
Oh, yeah.
Crowdfunding isn't for us. It's not for us. It's for guys who want to, for people who want to do really cool variant, swag or variant covers or collectible stuff to get graded. That's what it's for. I can't tell you how many people told me if I popped out Tragedy's boobs, they would buy it. And the truth is, if I got Mike DeBalfo to draw another Tragedy cover, and this time I had her tits hanging out, that's a $20,000 to $40,000 campaign. Easy,
Yeah,
easy.
but like that's not the character though. That's not what your
And
book
that's why I'm
is.
not
So.
doing it. I'm not going to sell out like that. Now, am I saying you're a sellout if you sell booby books? I'm not saying that because that was your goal to begin with. If you're a storyteller, then yeah, it's selling out. But if your goal was to just make money off of Kickstarter or off of booby covers, you're not selling out. You're doing exactly what you wanted to do. You're going straight to your demographic. Good for you. But if you want to create stories and content, that's two different things. That's two different goals.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, again, Kickstarter can't. I mean, it can work. I mean, if again, like you said, if you know the market and you're going to do it to raise money to do something else, I get that. But you can't. At some point, you can't. It can't be all right. Well, I'll do a Kickstarter this month, and make my money so I can get my next issue out. I just think that's crazy because you can only do but so many Kickstarters a year anyway. So you could never do like a monthly book.
And yeah, two other things Kickstarter could do to fix things allow you, if on a merit basis, if like a guy like me, I've done 12 campaigns, they've all fulfilled quickly, I've got a good reputation. Even if you want to do a rating system on Kickstarter for that, or with just between you and Kickstarter as a publisher, not with the fans,
Right.
they say, all right, you've met our rating system, will allow you to now do multiple campaigns.
Kind of like credit, like a good credit.
Yeah, you've proven
Yeah.
yourself to be an honest, decent, reliable campaigner. You can now do multiple campaigns, and you could tier like you're at the stage where you could do two at a time. Then maybe you've earned where you could do three at a time or four at a time. That would help, right? Because if I have a bunch of books I want to put out, I could do them at the same time. So that's one way. I think another thing is they have to put the feet to the fire on the campaigners that are ripping people off.
Yeah, like far as you know, people who haven't fulfilled a campaign from 3 years ago, stuff like that. There need to be repercussions for those type of things.
What repercussions? It's hard to say because somebody can create a fake account or whatever. So just knocking them off isn't enough. And it's not like Kickstarter is going to waste the money. They're not losing money spending. It's not they're not the ones who screwed you. So why should they pay it? Um, Hang on, Carlos. What'd you say? I did movie covers for She is Black Dahlia, but that's not the main character, so I created an alternate character who is sexy and alluring. We did okay, so I won't go in that direction going forward unless the book is in that tone. Look, I don't mean to sound judgmental when I say that, because like Carlos, like yourself, you guys are hardworking guys that want to put out good stories, and you're just doing whatever you can to make the money, because we
Yeah.
need money. At this point, as much as we appreciate shares and likes and rooting for us, we need money. Period. We need your pledge. You can root for me and share my post and then spend $60 on a rich guy's campaign, and that's your right. But then you're not really. I mean, but we need your help. The indie community storytelling needs your help. We need to get readership back. We have to market more books towards kids, but not kiddie like they've gone too far to the little kids. We're talking about like what you wrote in the 70s and 80s was enough. A 13-year-old boy can read it and it wasn't too much, but an 18-year-old or 25-year-old can read it and enjoy it as well. you know so we have to get back to writing stuff on that level. I think that's the first thing for readership. We have to find a way to get prices down, but it's hard because with distribution taking so much, printing costing so much, shipping costing so much, it's hard to get those prices down. So we have to figure out how to price structure again, and we have to get out to a larger audience by going into other market shares, going into spinner, newsstands and spinner racks and stuff. I think those are big things that can help distribution grow and get fan bases going into reading again. And of course, quality writing, because we both know Marvel and DC write like shit now. Um, I think those are big steps.
There's
You
a,
know,
I think another, this is a possibility, Now look at, again, I don't compare manga with our comics, because they're totally different.
mm-hmm.
But I will say this, like a lot of the younger people now, they read a lot of manga, okay? And what I see is, all right, manga books, you've seen mangas, you make them one with tragedy, is, they're black and white, what I'm saying, very like minimal, artwork is minimal, but it's good, but it's not nearly detailed like a traditional American comic. Black and white, you can do like, a whole bunch of pages, maybe the cover is a color. If the American audience were accepting of that with us, I
They're
think
not.
yeah, but
Western
I'm saying,
comics will not sell in black and white.
I
And
know,
you and I
I
have had
know,
this conversation constantly.
yeah, I know, but we see what I'm getting at, right? That would
Yeah,
cut the cost so much.
sure.
You know what I'm saying? You could do like a 40-page book. You know what I'm saying? Of just story with some decent art. I'm gonna say, because you're not sacrificing the art because it's black and white, but
Right.
it's cutting the cost. You might could put a little extra money into just making a more flashy cover, and there you go. People are really just wanting to read the story and stuff. But that's the question, right? That's the big one. Is okay now for people who say that they want good stories, they want to read, but they don't want to read a black and white book. But we clearly know there is an audience. There are young people. They're reading black and white books. Where's the disconnect?
Well, I'll tell you. I'm going to get to Carlos in a second. When I go into the manga stores, I'll approach the the consumer, and I'll go up to total strangers and I'll ask them why they like manga, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask them what manga they like, and I'll ask them how much they consume and read, and I'll show them the tragedy manga and see what they think. And every one of them, every single one of them is a huge devoted fan that soaks up so much manga. And they say the two big reasons are: one, it's sold in collected volumes instead of monthly waiting for the next thing, so they can enjoy a full arc in one read, which is short attention span audience, right? It's like streaming streaming a movie as opposed to a
Yeah, that's the way it
series,
is.
right?
Yeah.
And the second is they say the character development. They write the characters for you to relate to and feel. And I think we've gotten away from that with poor activism and poor activists being writers now. It's just my opinion. This isn't a political thing, guys. But when I say activism, it just means that Writers are writing for an agenda, as a pulpit, a megaphone, a soapbox, to preach to you about whatever was meaningful to them. And I don't think that's universal. I don't think those universal themes are the struggles people go through. The fact that we all, what we have in common, as opposed to you writing something that segregates us. You know what I'm saying? You know, diversity in comics is a beautiful thing. Giant Size X-Men is a perfect example of diversity used wonderfully, right? You know, Storm from Africa, a Japanese man with Sunfire, a Russian, a German, a Canadian, so there was diversity. It was nice, but it was written where all the characters had universal human behaviors. We all had insecurities, anger, mistrust, triumphs, failures. It wasn't Storm being oppressed by white slavers per se, where you're alienating part of your audience, or the Japanese man going into how he was in internment camps during World War II because the Americans, white people, bet. It's not to say you ignore those things. Of course, they're travesties, and we learn and grow from them. But when you write that specific to a specific race or a specific gender, you're absolutely alienating somebody.
Yeah.
But when you write to the human factor, because look, you're a black man, I'm a white guy. Who gives a shit? At the end of the day, we both have hopes and dreams. We both have children that we want to see grow into wonderful people, have a roof over our head, food on our table, and we want to win. We want to win. You and I could sit at the same Rocky movie and cheer for the underdog, because deep down at the core, no matter what melatonin you have or I don't have or whatever, we want the same things. And they're not writing for that kind of unity anymore. They're writing divisively,
I agree.
But manga doesn't do that. Manga doesn't go into that. Manga doesn't go into this character's this race or this gender or blah, blah, blah. It's, I have these feelings. I'm going through these troubles. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And it's universal to no matter what color or whoever you are.
And I think we'll get away from that. I mean, I know Marvel and DC are kind of going through that right now, but again, everything goes to cycles. That'll cycle out, and I think we'll get back to the kind of stuff we like. I mean, it's just the way history is. Things just come and go. I kind of think we're getting there now. Let me see the key to getting cost down.
He's talking about getting a printing coalition of indie publishers who will all print together. Again, though, that's you're relying on the good faith of other people, and I hate to say this, you just can't. You can't. People don't step up. They don't know how to act or do the right thing. And when you get too many of them together, I mean, look at all Alien movies or Predator. It was always one human that had some selfish agenda that fucked everything up.
I mean, he's almost dead. I mean, he's almost like it's pretty much like making an image, like a group of independent creators coming together, forming one company, working together. Which, I mean, again, that could work if everybody's on the same page, but we know that's just so many people tried that and it's been disastrous.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably do it without being one company where you're just all putting in your orders and printing together and saving the cost. But again, you're expecting to some sort of share with a large group of people, and it just never goes well. Black and white is tough for mainstream because manga is popular, but it's not U.S. mainstream. People expect color in your mainstream style book, and they expect black and white for manga because that's the format. Mainstream format is 90% color comics, and then you have that 1% like The Walking Dead that was black and white, or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was black and white. That's the exception. Sadly, the average eye expect color for a book they see on the shelf. Now, here's the thing. Walking Dead worked because it's horror. Horror is the only Western comic book that can work in black and white because traditionalists like it in black and white, right? But I also did a color because I understand that the average reader doesn't want black and white. So I did both versions. I'm trying to hit both markets, make everybody happy as best as I can. That's why Walking Dead worked in black and white. Turtles worked in black and white in the beginning because it was the 80s. Some indie book, so nobody expected more of it. But once they became mainstream, that became a color book. So Carlos is right. Um, Look, at the end of the day, I really feel that the industry needs a restructuring because it is imploding. It's crumbling on itself. And I do think there are people in this industry just looking to make the bucks that they can before it blows. They know it's going to implode. They're contributing to its implosion, and they're fine with it as long as they make the money and run. And where I believe in capitalism, I don't begrudge them the right, because if there's a fan base for it, then there's a fan base for it. They're not doing anything wrong, but that doesn't mean they do anything to help the industry either.
Yeah. Well, I know it's getting late now. We'll have to do another topic about how I told you about the 2010s, but I think we're gonna see how things play out in the next 2 to 3 years. Now that the Marvel stuff has kind of cooled down a little bit, we're seeing it now. People have moved on to other things. How that's going to affect the comic book industry, and like we'll see. We'll see. Who's going to stick around, and if things start going more independently again. But I just think we just got to wait. What I'm saying? What you're doing is great. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing you could do differently. You know what I'm saying? Go. I think Tragedy will do well in distribution, but you got to just put it out there. It exists. That's the big thing, right? The book exists, and you're like 5 issues in, so there's an audience for it.
If this book came out in the 90s, I'd be Billy Tucci.
Of course. You know what I'm saying? And again, it's a timing thing. But again, that in another 3 or 4 years, it could be that again. You just got to rough out this storm.
Yeah, we're trying. And I've said this many times, and I'm going to say it now. My favorite indie book is Rabbit's Badass Song, and that is Christopher Elston's baby, him and Chastity's.
Yeah, Chastity's. She helped 50 on that one.
Yeah, you both did a fantastic job, and the story is engaging and interesting. The character designs are simple yet intriguing. The story pacing is excellent. I was looking forward to each issue, and you got to issue 3, but you were funding, but you weren't getting that large swell of support that the book deserved. And
it wasn't there.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating. I'm frustrated for you, and I'm frustrated as a fan of the book, and especially knowing where it was going. It's a crime that some of these good books will never be known, but She-Hulk has a big audience.
We'll come back to Rabbit if something. I know now when I'm ready to come back to it what we're gonna have to do, and I don't think doing it single issues work for that story. I'll probably do more graphic novels, like do like five books like in one, and like
Sure.
do it like graphic novel, just because the stories, especially now, so I kind of lost that time in between. But we got a good stop point for it. I can always hopefully doing this other project that'll get people interested in Rabbit again. So we'll see. It's not over for him yet.
Better not be.
Nah.
So look, before we wrap this up, we appreciate those who came on and hang with us. I hope this didn't come across as a bitch fest. It was just talking about the things that need improvement in the industry, in our opinion. And just so you know, these are solely our opinion. They're not shared by anybody else or any of my affiliates. None of the artists in Legendary Illustrations are ever represented by my opinion. They speak for themselves, and no one affiliated with my publishing either. So this is just me, my opinions of what I've observed as a 42-year reader of comics and someone who's been in the industry on the professional level for about 5. So I think the bubble's going to burst. I think we're going to crash. But I think, like the Phoenix, something is going to rise out of it. And I think it'll be a good thing, because even the top 2 can't be top 2 forever. And they're really imploding. So one of 2 things is going to happen. They're going to fall, or they're going to readjust, get back to what was a winning formula. And we're going to be happy to have comics again, like you had mentioned. Um, I want to see comics thrive. I want to see them thrive, whether it's Carlos Rafael's publishing, whether it's Christopher Elston and Chastity's publishing, whether it's Tragedy and Filbo publishing, or whether it's the Teen Titans, Batman, X-Men, whatever. We need it. We need it, and it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful industry. It's a wonderful medium, but we need to get readers back. That's the bottom line.
Oh yeah, you know, and I'll say I don't. The comic is not dead. It'll never die. It'll
Nope.
always be here, but
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna need restructuring. I think it's gonna look different. That's the only thing I'm gonna say about that. I think it will change a little bit from what we know. But
Who's
I think
going to be that pioneer, though, that sets the face of change? Whether it's going to be that new distributor that's getting into those newsstand racks, or a new publisher that's coming out and doing something different. I don't know, but someone hopefully steps up.
Yeah, but I definitely think part of it, comic books need to go back to being newsstand books. There's got to be a way to bring that back.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't see prices ever getting better because look, nothing's going to go. No price is ever going down at this point, But if we can restructure to where the creators are making money, better than they are now, we won't have to raise prices.
Right.
So, plug whatever you got going on. Please tell us where to find you, what you're doing. Even I know you still got Rabbit's Badass Song 1 through 3. Tell us, plug yourself.
Oh well, just follow me on Facebook. What is it, Elston Christopher? I think that's what it is. I can't remember if I changed it back or not. I'm on Twitter. I'm pretty much on everything. I'm on Instagram. So just look for Christopher Elston. Flash Delirium LLC. We actually, let me see. Chaz, is our store back up yet for the back issues of Rabbit? I can't remember.
The site's up, but I haven't loaded it.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, we got a site up where we're gonna reload the back issues for Rabbit. We do have a pinup book. That's you can do something now. Sultry slashers for Halloween. This is like a slasher thing. We're big horror fans, so we decided to do.
Make no mistake. I was talking about taking your IP and changing it into that. I'm not saying
yeah.
Like if you made Rabbit all of a sudden a kitty book, you're selling out. I'm not.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
Yeah, that's just silly because that's not the character. When you created Sultry slashers for that sole purpose, so there's nothing wrong with that.
But
I'm doing some covers.
Yeah, and you're doing some covers, so keep on looking out for that. And again, if you go to my Facebook page and Instagram, you'll see the links for that. But outside of that, like we're really focusing on back on film. That's what we originally wanted to do. So we got some stuff coming. I can't say much now, but there's some stuff coming. I'm pretty sure Phil and I will be doing videos on that soon. So
yeah, I'll have you on anytime you want.
Oh yeah,
very cool. Guys, I'm very serious about this. If you really are interested in reading good books, reach out to Chris or Chastity or Flash Delirium and purchase the first 3 issues of Rabbit. There's 3 reasons you should do that. 1, Chris and Chastity are good people. 2, the book is fantastic, and that's the main reason you should do it. And 3, all the money that they get from the books is to go back into the things they're producing, and they are lovers of the medium. So, as well as the movie medium, if you love movies. So, they're the people you want to support. So, go support. I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed. Rabbit's Badass Song, issues 1 through 3, Flash Delirium, LLC. And I just rhymed. All right, I know I did a lot of the talking. I apologize. Part of it's frustration. Part of it is hope, But I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of stuff lately. By the way, real quick before we go, there was recently a thing, copyright issues going on with a few people, people doing cosplay covers, and those people had a right to be upset with the copyright issue. That's true. So this is not about the person who was upset about the copyright infringement. This is about people who reacted to it agreeing with that person who do copyright infringement themselves. It's amazing the hypocrisy of some people. You can call something an homage or a parody all you want, but it has to actually be an homage or a parody. If you just do a cosplay cover of somebody else's character, that's not a parody, that's not an homage, that's IP theft. That is a copyright infringement. So you can't be championing this person for fighting against copyright infringement and attacking that person when you do what that person did as well. Learn how to act, people. Jesus Christ. I mean, it's really not hard. And don't try to ride the waves of somebody else's hard work and product. Create your own. Be a leader. Don't be a follower.
Make something
put
new.
something. Yeah, contribute to society. Contribute to the medium. Right? There's enough to go around. You're not my competition. I'm my competition. I want to be better tomorrow than I was today. And Tofro, how much is the book price on Transformers? Because I do want to check that out. I mean, that looks like they're going to get back to basics on Transformers. He was saying that the cover price on Transformers was cheaper.
Oh,
I don't know. Cheaper because the volume over 100,000 print run. Oh wow. But anyway, sorry, I know I rambled a lot, but that's what I do. I'm a talker. I'm a big mouth.
I like listening.
Well, I talk to elderly, sick people all day, or an 11 and 9-year-olds, so it's hard. I don't have people that share my passions, and I certainly don't have healthy adults at my age to talk to. All right, you guys are awesome. Say hello to Chastity. She's welcome to say hi, but she's hiding over there probably because she's been busy taking care of Bowie.
Yeah, she's in the back room with a little guy. I think she's taking a nap.
All right. Well. Appreciate you coming on and talking with me, and I appreciate all those that came out and hung out. So you said $3.99. Okay. So, guys, it's real simple. No industry survives without a flourishing, flowing economy. The indie community is its own niche in the comic book community, and it doesn't have a very well-flowing economy. It has a flowing economy at the top. It doesn't have it for the 5% up top. It doesn't have it for the 95% below. I recommend forego that one Happy Meal or that one Starbucks cup of coffee a week or a month and go actively look through Kickstarters and pick one indie book a month, or if you can afford it, a week for 10 or 15 bucks a week that looks interesting to you, and support it. It's 15 bucks. And you might find something that you're newly passionate about. Star Wars wasn't something to start with, right? But because people gave it a chance and they helped it flourish, it became Star Wars. Do that for us. We care about this industry. We're passionate about this. We want to give you good stuff. We're not trying to milk you for your money and just give you crap. We want to give you quality content, but we need you to help us keep doing it. So again, most people can afford a $10 or $15 book a week. They spend worse than that on other stuff. It's your right to spend your money how you want, but I would ask and recommend, whether it's a week, every 2 weeks, every month, pick one indie book that looks good to you and give it a shot. $15 a month. It's like the price of a cup of coffee can save some kid in some third world country. Well, the price of a comic book can save an indie comic publisher. All right. Go get some rest.
All right.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you coming on. Chris Elston Christopher on Facebook, Flash Delirium LLC, Rabbit's Badass Song, and soon some cool movie news.
Oh, yeah. It's coming.
All right, man.
All right, buddy.
Be good.
Later.
All right, I'm going to wrap it up real fast. Tragedy campaign is live right now. It is the first 5 books It's actually 6 books in here, though, and the manga is going to be attached on the deluxe edition. This is a Bill Sienkiewicz with Alex Sinclair colors cover. Bill Sienkiewicz. We have David Mack. We have Chris Picciolo covers. We also have some great indie artists doing the manga covers. We have Kenny Calderon, Ava Schrager, and Tessa. Oh my God, I lost the last name. Rose. So you're supporting everybody from mainstream to indie. Chuck Dixon has an intro in here. Chuck Dixon, Peter David, and Howard Mackey say it's a well-written book, and as you can see, the artwork is quality by Ricardo Silva, colors by Chris Sotomayor of Marvel DC fame, written by me, created by me, designs by me. Give it a shot. You can get the deluxe 280-page book in a PDF just for $20. $20 gets you 280 pages. The physical 280 pages is only $55. All right. I tried to keep costs down. And this are the big names: David Mack, Chris Picciolo, Bill Sienkiewicz, Alex Sinclair, Chuck Dixon. And there's a lot of fan art and goodies, letters page, sketch cover, galleries, a bunch of other stuff in here, designs, posters. So please check that out. Give it a try. I know you don't know who I am. I know that I'm not Marvel and DC. I know I'm not Batman. But give it a try. I think you'll like it. I don't think you'll be disappointed. And in the spirit of Halloween, if you like horror, launching on Halloween night, Diary of Dread. It is a 152-page magazine. This is a big, big book. It's a magazine. Look at the hand on there. I have a color and a black and white version, and it's getting great reviews from diehard horror fans. Diary of Dread. You can sign up right now. At the bottom of the Tragedy Trade paperback campaign page, there's a link to sign up for this and be notified, okay? It's a big book. We're trying to give you quality, but I need your help. All right. I'm done. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. I hope everybody has an awesome week. If anybody's going to be at New York Comic Con, feel free to reach out to me and say, hey, I'd love to meet you face to face. I'd love to see how you're doing. Shake your hand, give you a hug, whatever you want. And get to know the people that I talk to on Facebook. So I'll be in New York Comic Con all 4 days. I'm not tabling, but I am there as a fan. Come hang out. And if you see me, don't hesitate to say, hey, what's going on? All right. I appreciate all of you. I wish you all the best of success and happiness, health and wealth, whatever, floats your boat. And I hope that you have an awesome work week and that whatever you do, don't quit. You keep plugging along. You keep fighting. You scrap, you scrape, you cry, you bleed, you do whatever I have to do with integrity to make that dream happen. All right. I'm going to leave you with what I always leave you with. Be legendary and have fun storming the castle.